Okay, what we got here is my wife's 2005 Honda Odyssey. 2 days before Christmas 2012. She came outside and tried to start her car. Car has got 94,806 miles on it. She came out and tried to start her car, and this is what she got. Nothing. No click. Try to start it, and it's nothing. So we're gonna try to figure out what it is. I'm thinking it's the starter, the solenoid on the starter. I've read online that it could be the cable as well going to the starter. So I'm gonna try to troubleshoot those. Easiest thing to do first is try to clean the post terminals and see if that works. So here it is. Here's the 2005 Honda Odyssey again, and having starter issues, or the car just won't start, it doesn't even click. The starter is right down there, held in place by 2 bolts. I did replace the battery once. It's a little Walmart battery. What is that? 1009. So it could be the battery as well. I've heard sometimes the cells. One of the cells dies in the battery, but I don't get any kind of indication inside, because when I turn the key, I don't hear a click on the starter, and I don't see the lights dim. So the post terminals don't look that bad, but I'm going to try to clean them up anyways, put them on there, so just to try to eliminate that possible cause. Alright, so I took out the post terminals on the battery. The negative terminal, or the ground, seems fine. The positive terminal did have some corrosion build up in there. I'm going to try to clean it up and see if that was the problem. Got this tool here, little 4-in-1 battery brush. Try that out, see if it works. Alright, so I cleaned up the post terminals and put it back on, tried to start it. Still got the same symptoms. No clicks, no nothing. Not turning over. So it looks like I'm going to have to take out the battery, take all these things off to get to the, remove the battery holder or battery shelf, so I can get better access to the starter bolts. Alright, took out the battery straps. So it was just 2 10mm bolts, and they had little hooks at the bottom that you just loosen up and turn to the side to lift up on. Able to remove the battery holder there and the battery. That's all that was held in place by that, and the kind of these straps that were held on the side, little plastic straps on the side of that bucket. That looks like 1, 2, and 3 bolts. Maybe 4 down there, or 5, to get this metal tray out so I can access the starter area. Wow, what a pain in the butt that was to remove this little battery tray. These bottom 2, that one right here, and that one right there, lined up with these 2 holes down here, one right there and one right there. That was ridiculous, but here's all the various tools that I had to use to get to that thing and remove it. I had to remove the air box so I can get more access to these bolts. But yeah, not the easiest place to get to those bolts. But the starter's exposed, and there's 2 bolts here. One that's the main cable for the power for the starter, and then here's the relay, or the solenoid, to energize the solenoid. Here's the starter. There's one of the bolts right there. See if you can see it, to the starter, and another one is underneath it. Or underneath there. It's going to be crazy to try to get to, but we'll try it out. But again, that was a pain in the butt to get that battery tray out. But look, that's a lot easier to work at this starter now. So worth it. Alright, I'm about to pull the starter off. The bolt that's on the starter that's holding it to the engine block is a 17 millimeter bolt. And I'm about to pull it off. I removed the wires attached to it. There was one there and one there. That was the I think that was 12 millimeter. Okay, finally took the starter out. That was a huge pain in the butt, but there it is. There was two bolts that came out. The bottom bolt right here and the top bolt. They're both 17 millimeter. I tried to take them out by hand using a socket, using a 1/2 inch drive, but they were in there pretty tight, so I ended up going with the impact wrench, and that definitely made the job a lot easier pulling out those bolts. I did test the old starter, and it definitely spun slower, so I'm pretty sure that it's the starter. I got the new one here from Advanced Auto Parts. Gonna put it in and cross my fingers. Alright, the new one is installed. That went in pretty easy. I just used standard hand tools. 1/2 inch drive, 17 inch or 17 millimeter. About to wire it back up. Those two wires back there. Then put all the stuff back in for the battery compartment. I might just put the battery in there and wire it up just to make sure that everything works before I put in the tray. And that's it. Tools that helped me out was that helped me to drive back in there. There was a little bit of thread friction with those two 17 millimeter bolts, and that definitely that 1/2 inch impact wrench helped out to take out that old starter. In my opinion, definitely need a air tool to get those two 17 millimeter bolts out. I didn't try using a breaker bar because I didn't have one, but that may do the trick as well. But there's not much room to play around with to get to those bolts, and it was definitely needed. And the other things that I used were these extensions, 1/2 inch extensions I got from Harbor Freight, and it worked out great. And definitely wear some gloves, because you're in there and there's some connectors and stuff that you could rub up against. I started not to wear any gloves, and I started nicking my knuckles and stuff, and got smarter and put on some gloves, and it's definitely helped since then. Alright, that was a success. Put that new starter in there. I tried to jump it using a jumper cable on a battery, but it wouldn't provide enough amps through that jumper cable, so I had to wire it back up, and I used this little stick here, this little plunger stick, to provide some support for this battery temporarily, just to get it started. And as you can see, it's running. Now the only thing left, the easy part, is putting everything back together and buttoning everything back up and clean everything up, and have it good to go. I think I'm going to go in there with some cleaner, intake cleaner, and clean that out. That's it. Hope this helps somebody. Alright, just about got everything put back together. Put the airbox in. Put the battery shelf back in there. I decided not to put that back nut back in there because that was a pain in the butt to go put in, so I just decided to put in some like a rubber sticky piece just to have it so it won't be banging up against the body. But I definitely put the other bolt that's down there, so 3 bolts holding it instead of 4 bolts. That should be fine. I also wanted to highlight this piece here. There's a little rubber grommet that goes under and into this piece here. It connects down there, and there's 2 bolts at the top. Yeah, that's one of the last pieces that goes in, but it's like a puzzle piece. It just goes in there, and a little rubber grommet right there that just pops into a little male fitting that's down there, male plastic fitting that's down there. Alright, I decided to take apart, just as a bonus here, to take apart the old starter. It's a pretty simple mechanism. It's just a gear inside there that is operated by this motor. I took these 2 bolts off that held this DC motor onto this starter mechanism here, and basically when if it spins it fast enough, it'll pop this gear out to engage that flywheel that's on the engine. This is the solenoid that probably doesn't go bad. It's pretty, nothing really moves in there. It's just like a magnetic coil in there. But here's the thing that usually goes bad on these things. I'm pulling this out from this. There you go. Just pulled it out from the body of the motor. If you can see these 2 wires, 2 leads. There's these brushes that are inside there that ride on this motor. I think it's called a commutator, something like that. But this thing spins around, and it's the brushes that end up wearing down, and it's just something that wears down over time as you start the engine and repeated starts. It's meant to wear down and eventually fail. That's it. And then there's a bearing here that sometimes fails as well, but this one seems fine. I might just rebuild this starter. There's a core charge though. I could take it back and get 20 bucks for it, but I think I might just rebuild it, look online and see how much those brushes cost, and see if I can't build a ready spare. Alright, just to recap, finished up the job finally. Here's what it looks like. Buttoned everything back up, put the starters in, put the battery back in, cleaned it up a little bit, put the bracket back in. Everything's good to go. Cleaned up the terminals. Put the engine cap or engine cover back on, the top cover. Check the fluids, everything should be good to go. Put the air box back on. Alright, this is a list of tools here. Definitely needed that impact wrench, 1/2-inch drive, various extensions, definitely useful. I just used this one as another one just to help me drive it in. Various socket wrenches, 17mm for the bolts on the starter, 10mm and 12mm for all the various bolts that held in the brackets. These came in handy for the tight places to get to, various extensions. I left that 1 bolt off on that battery tray because I didn't want to have to deal with it if I ever have to take it off again, but everything worked out great. The job, I'd say, took about 4 total hours once I found all the tools and got everything good to go. It could probably be done in about 4 hours. That's about it.